What can you tell us about the latest response from President Hollande to the lorry attack in Nice?
Well, unfortunately, it is a tragic attack. We have almost 100 people, men, women, children, that have been dead in such an attack. And it has been the third attack against France in the last 18 months. Terrorism is not just targeting France. Terrorism is targeting almost all the countries, and we should not forget that 80% of the victims of terrorism are in Muslim countries. All the countries of the Security Council had been victims of terrorism. All the P5 countries, the US, China, including Russia, London. So it is a concern for all of us. So this is something in which we should really increase our cooperation. We should also think about the consequences of military intervention. We have to face the fact that the intervention in Afghanistan, the intervention in Iraq, the intervention in Libya, not only they have not stopped terrorism, but they have increased the risk of terrorism. So I think we should be very careful when we speak about the use of force. Of course, we can imagine that through a military intervention, through the coalition, we might be able to strike strongly against Daesh in Syria and in Iraq. But this is not going to stop terrorism. Terrorism will grow somewhere else. If we want to stop terrorism, we need to address the issue of failed states. Terrorism is opportunistic. It takes advantage of the situation of failed state in Iraq, failed state in Syria, failed state in Yemen or in Libya. So we should address this issue by finding political solution. That means world cooperation. Cooperation between the US, Europe, Russia, China. We have lacked this cooperation, and we have lacked political imagination in the way to combine our forces to create more stable regimes in this country. And that's why I had, in 2003, before the American intervention in Iraq, such doubts about the policy of regime change. You change a regime, but what do you have next? Next, you have terrorism, you have instability, you have difficulty.
Now, what do you think of the future between the United States and China, the two biggest economies, from your perspective, the European perspective?
Well, I think that there is a big misunderstanding between the two countries and a strong mishandling by the US of the relationship with China. I think there is a temptation in the US of having a strong policy of containment toward China. There is, of course, a fear about the growing economic capacity of China. There is some fear also about the growing military capacities of China. On the contrary, I think what we need is more dialogue, more understanding, and more cooperation. The more you will try to stop, control, or have some kind of negative policies, and this is and has been in the last decade the policy of the Western democracies. Sanctions, frozen conflicts, and containment. I don't think that these are the good answers. Have we found through sanctions and containment a better dialogue with Russia? On the contrary. So we need to change this policy, and we need to have in the US as well as in Europe people understanding that these are not options. You are taking the example of the situation in the South China Seas. What is the situation? We have some difficulties between nations in this region, Philippines and China, Vietnam and China. Dialogue should be the key. Direct dialogue between these countries in order to find in the bilateral framework, in order to find options and solutions to go forward, of course, in respect with the law of the sea, of the Convention of the Law of the Sea, respect of the freedom of navigation, freedom of overflight. China has been respecting these rules. So I think it's important to keep on with concrete solutions. If for any other reason We are entering in the logic of containment because we are afraid of China being too powerful. We will have more problems. We need China on board to tackle security issues. We need China on board to tackle peace issue in the UN. For example, China is the biggest contributor. So containment is not an option in a so broken and dangerous world we are living today. We need reconciliation, we need dialogue, and we need better understanding.